Check out this old photo. I'm going to show you how to repair the frame on this image using what is called content-aware fill in Photoshop, and why you should preserve the frame instead of cropping it out. Welcome back to the 6th of 7 episodes in this Walls Family Photo Restoration Project. Hi, I'm Connie Knox, a lifelong genealogist, video professional, and photographer, here to help you go further faster, but factually, with your family research. If you're just joining me in this series, I've been demonstrating how to restore this image to what will ultimately be this image, and each step of the way so that you can do this too. Since the last episode, I went and readjusted the levels on this just a little bit more. And so just to recap what we've done so far in the first 5 episodes of this photo restoration, if we go and we turn all of these off, just to recap, this is what we started with. An image of the Walls family from Wilkes County, North Carolina. Had this giant tear in the photograph, and what we did was we selected that, and then we moved it into place. Again, you can see it moves into place. And then we healed the crack using the spot healing tool, and then we worked on removing some of the spots, although I could probably do more. It seems like the spots are never ending. And then we went and did a levels adjustment, which helped really make this image pop. And as I was sitting here looking at this image a few minutes ago, I started looking at the background. Look at the image, the wood background. There is a backdrop that wasn't quite wide enough for this large family. If we look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 children in the Mevel, Hampton, Walls, and Mollie, Gilliam family. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on this frame just for fun. Now, for some, they may not want that cardboard frame at all, and I like to keep it, and there's a reason for that. But just in case you don't want to, you could take the crop tool, and you could crop it out. All right, we could take this, and we could come down here and try and crop that out pretty tight. Or, alternatively, we could come all the way down to the image and crop it out this way. Okay? So you use the crop tool, and once you get it the way you like it, you hit enter, and bingo, it's cropped. Now it is slightly twisted, so we would have to go back and fix that. However, I'm going to tell you why you don't want to do that. Control Z undoes what we just did. So if we undo that and leave the cardboard frame in place, by leaving the cardboard frame in place, it helps date the photograph, because cardboard frames were used in a certain period of time. And honestly, I don't know exactly what that period of time is offhand, but I do know that those cardboard frames were used in an era of photography. So I like to keep the cardboard frame to help date the photograph. However, we could repair this frame a little bit. Now, we used before, if we take our zoom tool and we zoom in, before we had used the spot healing tool to repair cracks, and we could do that again. And we want to make that a little bit larger, and we could repair this crack like so. Bingo. Isn't that magic? We can repair this crack like so. Bingo. Now, what you're seeing here is a double image because we had repaired the corner earlier. And so you're actually seeing the original image underneath there. We can mask that out and get rid of that, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. But what we can do is I want to show you, using this little tear right here, how we can, probably went a little too far. Let's unzoom just slightly, and I'm going to move this up. Again, I'm holding the space bar and click and move. Gives me the little hand tool. And then I let go and it goes back to whatever tool I was using last. So what I want to do is I want to create a selection. I'm going to use the quick selection tool and I'm going to select this tear. Now remember, the key to any good repair is the selection. I want to select this little tiny piece as well. Now you're going to love this. Check this out. This is called Content Aware Fill, or Fill Content Aware, however you want to look at it. I'm going to take the Move tool. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go Edit. Excuse me. We want to Edit. And then we want to come down to Fill. And we want to make sure that Content Aware is selected and that this is set to normal. And what this is going to do is it's going to take a look at all the pixels. Move this out of the way. It's going to take a look at all of the information around it and say, I'm going to fill in this area with the information around it. That is Content Aware Fill. And there it goes. Now, we still have a selection here. And so anything we try to do outside of that selection, nothing's going to happen. The only part that we are manipulating right now is inside this selection. So we want to deselect, because this little edge right here is going to leave us a frame, but we can fix that with the spot healing brush tool. But we can't do it with this selection. So Control D to deselect. And there's the edge of our repair that I was telling you about. And this is almost always the case with Content Aware Fill. So we're going to come over here and we're going to grab the Spot Healing Brush tool. And we're going to make our, again, left and right brackets, make our brush smaller or larger, or you can change the size right here. And we're going to make this brush about that size. That's fine. So we're going to close that window. And by using the Spot Healing Brush tool, we can then trace over this little crack that's left behind from our repair, and it will magically fix that. Now, if we want to repair this part too, we just keep going, and we keep tracing over it till we get what we want. And bingo. Now, this particular piece here, I probably do not need to do a Content Aware Fill, but let's give it a try with just the Spot Healing Brush tool, and bingo, look at that. I'm going to zoom back out and show you how clean that looks. Now we can do the same thing over here, and I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Again, we grab the Quick Selection tool. And basically the Quick Selection tool is looking for contrast and detail that is different from the areas around it. So let's take that as our selection. I'm going to zoom out slightly. And you can see, now I didn't quite select all of this area, so we could add down the edge here if we want to clean up all of that edge. And now we go to, again, Edit, Fill, Content Aware. It's going to remember where we were last time. And we're going to say OK. And it filled in beautifully the cardboard mat. Now again, we have to Control D to deselect our selection in order to fix this little edge. And then we come back over to the Spot Healing tool. And we come along, and we can even do all the way down this edge here if we want. And go all the way down, and if it doesn't fix it right the first time, we can go back and do it again, and bingo. Now, it did leave just a slight little smear in here. We could sit here and play with this a little bit, using one spot, one click at a time, to see if that doesn't help. If I don't like that, I can always go back up the History tool until I get to where I liked it. Now, that is a quick way to fix the smaller sections. Let's do this one too, why not? Spot Healing Brush tool. Let's try it without using, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Look at that. God, I love Photoshop. Try and get up to the edge without touching the edge. Beautiful. Now let's see if we can fix this. I love the polygon. You could do the polygon or the magnetic. I prefer the polygon lasso tool in this situation. You click and you start to drag. And this way you can create exactly what you want, but it's in straight lines. It's not a wiggly line, but I can sit there. The more I click, 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 and when I'm done I hit enter and it will close the loop. And now I've got a selection of just that edge, and now I can go back with the stamp tool, hit Alt, and just run that puppy down there, and it immediately cleans that up. Control D. And if it has a line left in there like that, you can go back to the spot healing tool. And I like to just do one click at a time instead of running it straight down, because then you get more of a randomness. And while I'm here, I'm going to fix this and fix that. Fix that. Then I can grab the space bar and I can push my image around and I can do it again. So then I would take the polygon tool and click and click. And I don't want to get rid of that little dark edge because it's actually the shadow of the edge of the frame. And so then I can come up here. I want to go just outside the frame that I'm trying to heal. I can do that. Grab the stamp tool, grab a sample over here, and then run it down. And now I fixed that edge as well. Control D to deselect. I see the line, so I'm going to grab the, the spot healing brush tool. I'm going to make my brush smaller, so I could just run this line down here. It probably will give me a randomness, especially with that small of a brush. Whoops. And that looks fine. And so we can keep doing that around and around and around. As long as I'm here, I'm going to fix this edge. And again, push the space bar, move around, and you can keep doing that throughout the whole image. So now here's another little edge of the photograph where there's a little tear here, and we're going to fix that real quick. And how we're going to do that is we're going to use that same polygon tool, and we're going to trace around it so that we don't manipulate more than we wish to manipulate here. And then we're going to draw it across as if that's where we want the image to fix, but we're going to use the Edit Content Aware Fill. Edit, Fill, Content Aware. And look at that. It's amazing. Control D. We take this little tool, the Spot Healing Brush Tool, and we can fix little tiny pieces of the edges where we had manipulated it. And then when we zoom out, look at that. I cleaned up all the edges all the way around where we had that double edge image, and I'll show you where that came from. If we go all the way back to the beginning, when the original image had this piece, this corner that was stuck out, and again we separated it, right, to move it in. So when we moved it in, it left the edge of the original behind there. So then as we move forward through the process, this last edit we cleaned up that edge. So now, do we dare do this up here? Yes and no. So if we try and fill in this white, what's going to happen is when you do Content Aware Fill, it's going to pick up pieces of this image. So what I like to do is I'll make a quick selection. Get the quick selection tool, and I will make a rough selection, which looks like this is pulling in pretty well. I want to get this shadow up here too. That's a pretty good selection right there. Now what I want to do, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Spacebar down to move the image around. So we still have our selection here, and I'll fix this little piece a little bit later. But instead of doing Fill Content Aware, I'm going to show you what's going to happen. This won't work, and I'm going to show you why. It picked up part of the image, and so what has happened is it picked up this part, but it also picked up this part, and so that's not cool. So we're going to undo that. So what I like to do while this selection is happening is I like to take the clone tool. In this situation, I'm going to make a big brush, and I'm going to sample this over here where it is good, and I'm going to paste it in. Now keep in mind I have alignment turned off so that it keeps going back to the original spot that I sampled. And I'm going to rough out. Now see, it's starting to pick up the edge of the frame here. I'm going to have to go back and sample again. And if I just click, it's going to keep, if you'll notice the little X from where my original sample was, I can move my sample over here. That little X will keep popping in every time I click. And that helps me rough out the cardboard frame. And you can see I'm just clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking. If I click and drag, watch what happens. It's going to pick up part of that frame. Control Z to undo that. Control Z again. And so I'm going to resample the good area that I want, and I'm just going to keep clicking, basically dropping a lot of spots of the same thing on here just to give it a rough outline. If I come up here and I use this spot as a sample, I could run all the way across and it gives it a nice clean, it gives it a better texture. And if I keep doing that, I actually like that a little bit better, and that helps fill in the texture. Now remember, because I'm clicking and stopping, click, drag, stop, right? Watch what happens. Click, the little X pops up, and drag, and it follows across with me, and let go. I'm going to do that right here, except I'm going to go down. Well, I don't have a lot of place to go down, so I'm going to start at the top here and sample that, and I want to go down the edge just a little bit before it gets into that picture frame and let go. Then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to move down slightly, and it's going to pick up from the top again. So now I've got a better fill in than content aware fill. So if we Control D to deselect, now we just have to fix up the little edges. We do that with our spot healing tool. And again, I'm going to make the brush just a little bit bigger. I'm going to pull that down. And we're getting there. We're getting there. It does kind of create a smear, but we can go back and use the stamp tool again and fill that in if we want to really make it look perfect. And I'm going to grab the edge while I'm there. Fix this little corner. And it's got a little smear to it, so I'm going to go back and grab the clone tool, and I'm going to stamp over that. And by the way, I have a soft edge on my brush, and I do that on purpose because it makes it blend a little bit better. So again, I'm going to sample over here. Again, that's Alt to sample, Alt-click to sample, and then I'm just going to stamp it in here over the top of our fix. I'm going to come down here. You always want to sample right near where you're fixing. Alt, click, and then just click to paste, basically. And we can just keep doing that all day long. And then when we zoom back, that corner is healed. Now it doesn't have the rounded corner anymore like this. We could copy and paste and flip it over, but you're getting the idea. I like the, I personally like the rough edge, and so I might just do that on the next video. I told you content aware fill was an amazing process. This is one of Adobe's most powerful tools in Photoshop. You can do this too, it just takes a little practice. Well, if you found that tip amazing, please type in the comments sections below, type amazing, and hit the like button. Questions and comments are always welcome. And lastly, subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified of each and every video. Until next time, keep on climbing your family tree.